Okay.
Cool. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to an episode of the Fytcast. Today we're joined with Shaun George, coach and trainer of Gilles Big Bang Zhang. Honestly, Shaun, I have to tell you, Gilles has stolen my heart. This year, this year has been all about Chinese power for me, and I really am just blown away by the mentality, the mindset, and of course the skill
Yeah.
that Gilles brings to the sport. And I think he's a breath of fresh air to the heavyweight division, which and we were just touching upon this, which has been a bit shit, to be honest, in the last
Yeah, I get it.
18 months or so. I think someone like Joe Joyce, he was doing really well for us in the UK when we saw him up against people like Scott Parker in particular.
Hmm.
We saw what he did against Scott Parker and the way that he was handling those shots, and we were like, wow, we've got a new star being born. And
Right.
I remember, he was on the side with Usyk and Tyson Fury after the Dillian White fight, and it was like
Yeah.
those were the top three, right?
Right.
And for some reason, all of a sudden, Joe Joyce's next fight is against this massive Chinese heavyweight by the name of Zhilei Zhang. And we're not too familiar in the UK with Zhilei Zhang, or at least we weren't at that point.
Right.
When I saw that, Shaun, I was thinking, well, what the hell are these guys thinking? Like, like surely you would pick someone like at least a little bit smaller than Zhilei Zhang, right? So my first question to you, Shaun, is first of all, congratulations on getting that fight because Gilles has
Thank you.
really cemented himself in the heavyweight division as a big problem and a massive threat to the likes of Tyson Fury, Alexander Usyk, Anthony Joshua, Deontay Wilder. So, first of all,
Right.
Shaun, can you just give us a bit of a taste of how the fight actually came about earlier this year?
So first of all, thank you for having me on your show. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure, man.
Um, Jalay worked so hard for this fight. He worked so hard to be here in this moment. He's a student of the game. He is a pleasure to work with as a coach. He's a hard worker. He's disciplined. And what you're now knowing and what you're now seeing of Jalay, the inside of boxing, they knew this already. They kept him away from Anthony Joshua. Eddie Hearn did. They
Mm.
talked about it. The only time they talk about it is they talk about Jalay fighting Anthony Joshua at the Bird's Nest, right? Then and we leave because we left for a reason, um, our Matchroom is a good company. I don't want to discredit Matchroom or even Eddie Hearn, but when it comes down to it, they had their priorities with Anthony Joshua. So when Jalay and both Jalay and Anthony Joshua lost to on August 20th last year to Usyk and Herkovich, there
Mm.
was a perfect opportunity for them to fight each other in April, which they both fought in April. And Eddie Hearn didn't want to give us Anthony Joshua. They wanted to go a different route.
What
So
was
they
the discussions you were having like? Because you've put Gillet forward, you've worked with these guys before. Surely
Mhm.
that would seem like an easy conversation, right? So what was the message back that you were getting from Eddie Hearn and Matchroom when you were posing that as a fight for April?
They kept giving us the same thing they gave you guys. This fight should happen at the Bird's Nest. Should be in China. It should be, or and what was it? Anthony Joshua beating Jalay in Olympic Games. All these other things, And then after the fact, like we was like, okay, we want to fight Anthony Joshua. It's a perfect time. They both are fighting. They both want to fight in April. They both have a date. Matchroom have a date. We're being promoted by the same promoter. Why
Mm.
is the fight not happening? This is the question that you ask yourself. Because Eddie, he says a lot of things, especially after we left Matchroom. One, Jalay is a C-level opponent. Two, Jalay only has a left hand, his backhand. Um, so what was the issue now? So that's how the fight came to fruition. The lanes, they came to the gym and they asked me, are we going to see Queensbury? They're going to London to see to meet with George and Frank and staff and everyone who's there. And they was asking, who do you want to fight? I said, Queensbury, go after Joe Joyce. That's a fight we wanted for years. You could look at old precedents. We was asking for Joe Joyce. You could go to Jule Instagram. At one point, Jule was trying to actually troll, which was pretty funny. He was trying to troll Joe Joyce, but so they said Terry and Tommy was like, oh, and Kurt, they was like, oh, you want Joe Joyce, not Dubois? I said, no, I want Joe Joyce. Everybody's afraid of Joe Joyce. They call him the boogeyman, right? I know how, like, I actually sized up Joe Joyce since 2014. No, I'm not joking when I say this. I'm not even exaggerating because I was working for the Chinese national team back then. And we went to Germany. It was a tournament called the Chemistry Cup in Germany. And this is where I met Joe Joyce in Azerbaijan in 2000. Prior to that, he was like helping Anthony Joshua out for the Olympic Games. Like he was like, I'm not sure what he was doing there at that point in time, but that's when I first met him. But when I first seen him in action was at the Chemistry Cup in 2014. He fought Tony Yoka, I think. I don't quote me on that, but I believe that in the finals he fought Tony Yoka. Man, I was like, man, I wish I had it. I wish Delay was still here because he turned professional at that moment in time. He turned professional. He was in the United States while I was in China. So I was like, man, this is a fight I wanted. So when it came down to it, when I knew Jalay, I know who Jalay is as a person, and Jalay is one of those fighters that he wants to fight the best fighters in the world. It motivates him. It gets him going. It gets him moving. And I've been telling the promoter this for years. All right. We wanted Herkovich earlier before we fought him the first time around. You could check the precedents. You could check the media. We wanted Herkovich. We wanted Joe Joyce. We want Anthony Joshua. We want Deontay Wilder. Of course, we want Tyson Fury. Of course, we want Usyk. They hold the titles, but they're busy right now, right? That's how it basically came down to it. Terry and Tommy went down to to UK and they made the deal happen. We got them. They accepted. Kudos and shout out to Joe Joyce because he is a fighter's fighter. He wants to fight. It's nothing but respect from me when it comes to fighting Joe Joyce. He is not an easy person to deal with. He has a lot of weight. He comes forward and he comes to fight every single time. So it's a credit to Joe Joyce for even taking a fight. To be honest with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think that they underestimated Zhile Zhang at that point? Because again, from where I was sitting, it should have just been a tick over fight for Joe Joyce at that point, right? Just keep going and just stay active, stay busy. Don't go into such a massive fight, against someone who you could lose to, right? And of course, this is what we know how boxing is like, right? Everyone picks their opponents very carefully. Yeah. So it just seems as though they might have just underestimated you guys. Is that what your take is, or how do you feel about that?
I don't think the boxing world haven't been really paying attention to Jalay. Like it's a storyline because he got tired in the jury for his fight. And it wasn't the fact that he got tired. He had a medical issue at that moment in time. That's a real serious thing. I think that they look at that fight and they look at another fight. They don't know the details that happen behind the fight, like coming off a 9-month layoff for one of his fights, or having issues with the promoter at the time, not Eddie Hearn, the other promoter prior to Eddie Hearn. There was a lot like the promoter just trying to put him in, like build him up, and then throw him in, and that's what we didn't want. That you know what I mean? Like boxing it's about progressing. It's about getting the right fights at the right time. But we wanted competitive fights. We wanted the real fights. So I get how the media got caught up in everything else, but at the same time, they weren't really paying attention to the little details that he was doing. You were hearing one thing, oh, Jalay's slow. Well, I know for an absolute fact that Jalay's not slow. Then, oh, he has bad footwork. That's the new thing now they're talking about. Right? This is the only reason why we really wanted to fight a guy like Tyson Fury, because you want to show everybody, yo, listen, we can actually do a lot of different things. It's just according to what our opponents are giving us, that's what we're going to make adjustments to. So Jalay boxing IQ was very high.
Yeah, absolutely. So what's the relationship now between you guys and Queensberry? Because again, Frank Warren, Queensberry, George Warren, these guys have got good relationships with Team Usyk as well. Obviously, Fury is part of Queensberry Promotions as well. So what's your relationship now? Because a lot of people are talking about, this is almost like a master move for Queensberry, because whoever won that fight, and that was Gillet, they can now sort out for
it's the Don King move. It's the Don King move, right? Kind of thing. Like he had both sides.
exactly.
Yeah, I get it.
He's always going to be winning, right? So
Yeah.
what's the relationship now between you guys? Is there more of a formal partnership relationship? Are you working with these guys to get the next fight, or are you still? I'm not sure what the promotion is that you are with in the US.
We're currently, from my understanding, we are currently being promoted by Queensberry.
Okay.
Right. So yeah, that's what we're doing. We're with Queensberry right now.
Okay. So again, it seems like back in April, like you mentioned, Anthony Joshua fought Franklin instead of fighting Gillet. You guys fought Joe Joyce. It seems like December's another good time for you guys to have that fight. What's next for Gillet, and is that something that you guys are looking to get involved in?
Do you know who you're not hearing from in this whole thing? You're not hearing from Anthony Joshua.
Mm.
He's kicking the football with his football idol. He's doing different things over there. Eddie Hearn going to he's a like a used car salesman. He sell you whatever that feels good to you at the moment in time. He's very creative with his wording and how to promote his fighters and how to promote himself. That's not a bad thing. It's a good thing, but Anthony Joshua doesn't want to fight any punchers unless you're paying him crazy amount of money. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm almost at me personally, I almost think that Anthony Joshua doesn't want to fight anymore. He just wanted looking for the biggest cash out. So me personally, when I hear Eddie Hearn talk about Gillet fighting Anthony Joshua, he just doing that to distract and or to get Deontay Wilder more so they could come to a deal or something like that. I don't really listen to that anymore. I only follow Eddie Hearn actions when it comes to those kind of things. That's just where it is right now. So I'm hoping we can get like a fight in December. I know we're in talks for a few different things, but nothing I can really talk about right now. But if not December, definitely January, February against a Deontay Wilder. That's a fight. It's a fight that I think the boxing fans would want to see. It's a creative because you want to see what Deontay Wilder want to do. I know what Delay is able to do in there. I know that any given round, any given minute, any given round, Delay will knock him out. It was all depending on how they attack or whatever when it comes down to it. But we're focused. Delay's not afraid. And think about how many people have Deontay Wilder actually fought that wasn't afraid of him. I count maybe two. And off the top of my head, that's the Luis Ortiz, and that is the Tyson Fury fight. So that's the fight I really want right now. I think boxing fans will come out for that fight. I think all around the world people will pay attention to that fight because it's just fireworks from the beginning to end.
And so you're saying that Gillet is in essence going to expose Deontay Wilder, and the fact that his record isn't very deep in terms of high quality opponents.
I want to be clear. I'm a big fan of Deontay Wilder. I love to watch him fight. When he worked with Mark Breland. Mark Breland and I used to spar with each other when I was a kid.
Wow.
When Mark was already the champion, and that he taught me a lot. His new trainer now is Malik Scott. Me and Malik Scott went to school together in Northern Michigan University. And he's a smart guy. He's a very educated, and he's very well, he knows the sport of boxing. I'm looking forward to that fight. You know what I mean? I love to go. I love a challenge. I love, but I just know what Gillet is able to do. I know what motivates Gillet. I know what comes down to it. And don't get me wrong, Deontay Wilder's he's not afraid of anyone, and he's going to step to it, and he's going to try to go at Gillet. But that's what we want. If he wants to box, if you want to go to fireworks, then we could do both. Just make it happen. It's a fight that I believe that everybody would love to see, meaning the boxing fans.
Yeah, I mean, the prospect of Gillet Zhang versus Deontay Wilder, that is just screams fireworks to me.
Yeah.
When you look at, for example, the Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder fights, there's a strange kind of mode that Deontay Wilder goes into where it looks like he doesn't want anything, or it looks like he's completely finished, and then he'll just keep going. He'll keep going. He'll throw those bombs. He'll keep, and fair play to Fury, he took those, right. So
Yeah.
again, you from what you're saying that Zhile Zhang has Deontay Wilder's card. So have you taken into account I guess
The
the
heart.
attitude and the heart of Deontay Wilder into that as well? And is that something that
Yeah.
he would need to take from him?
Yeah. No, listen, it's going to be a fight. You know what I mean? We know that Deontay Wilder has heart. We know that he is one of the most vicious punchers in the history of the sport of boxing, right? We know all of this, right? We know that, but I'm a strategist. I could break down Deontay Wilder fights hardcore, but when it comes down to it, skills going to pay the bills. Jalay has hand skills. He can box. He can go to war with you. He can't fight. He's not afraid to do these things. You understand what I'm saying? Like, he is the student of the game. If I tell Jalay right now, break down Deontay Wilder, he can break down Deontay Wilder, or without talking about it, without getting in the ring to him, he could break him down on each level. You understand what I mean? Like, so he's not one of those guys that are going to walk in there like, oh, this guy can punch, so I got to stay away from his right hand, or he has a good jab. You know what I mean? Or he's doing this, he's doing that. He can fight. It doesn't matter the style. It doesn't matter how big or small or how slim and slender or what style you're coming in. He's an Olympic fighter. He went against a lot of different styles over the years. He knows how to fight, and that's it. That's his IQ is there. So I'm just hopefully we could get these fights going.
So it sounds like you want the Deontay Wilder fight more, not even from a perspective of, in fact, it's the opposite. It seems as though you see Wilder as more of a challenge than Anthony Joshua. Is that how you see it, that Deontay Wilder will be tougher than AJ?
I think everybody poses different threats. If you look at all five of these guys, Jalay, Tyson Fury, Usyk, Deontay Wilder, or Anthony Joshua, all of them have completely different styles. They all have a different mind frame or approach in the sport of boxing. Anthony Joshua, we don't know what he wants to do. You know what I mean? I don't want to disrespect the guy. I don't know him personally when it comes to different things like that, but he's over there. He's training with Derek James. Then he's going over there and training with Ben Davison. He's doing a lot of weird things. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of things that show me that he's a little bit insecure about himself. That's why he's not talking about fighting these guys, whatever. He still believes that he's a top dog, and he's not. Jalay's number one. Jalay has the mandatory. You understand what I'm saying? You're just sitting there off of what you did in the past. And for me, come on, we could talk about your history with the past too. We could talk about your opponents and what was going on in your past as well. Like, listen, Joshua, he's a tremendous puncher. He has a big fan base in the UK. I love to fight. I love to fight him. He's a great guy. On top of it, like, just sit there and have a conversation with him. Like, he's one of those guys. He's one of those people, one of those personalities. Now I understand why Eddie's trying to protect him, but at the same time, this is a sport, so what I mean. Just make it a fight. Make it happen.
Do you think that they will? Because from my perspective, and I take myself as a fan perspective purely, it just looks like Anthony Joshua will wanna, if he risks another another loss on his record, then it should be for a big paycheck. So do you think that fight could only happen if it's a massive fight, for example, in China, where Gillet would bring the huge Chinese audience, Anthony Joshua would still have his own audience? But do you think that could be the only route if it's a big money fight?
It's a big money fight right here in the United States, believe it or not. Listen, Gillet has a fan base, right? If whatever issues going on in political issues that are going on in China, maybe that's happening right now. Gillet, there's 1.3 billion Chinese people in the whole world. This is not including China. In the UK, in the United States, if you actually promote Gillet, because as of right now, he hasn't really been promoted. He's been self-promoted. Promoters haven't gone out their way to promote him. Promote a show with him build on. Even the Joe Joyce fight, right? I was in the UK and looking at the commercials. It was no talk of Jalay. It was talked about, oh, is Joe going to get revenge for this fight? Is it going to be a 9 for a 9? Is this that? Is it that? Is it this or is it that? Jalay has a big following. Like I've just watched videos of him, like people crying, seeing him. They run, they just want to touch him. They want to be around him. They want to say, I was in the same room. So if you put them in, you put this fight in New York City, if you put this fight in Las Vegas, you put a fight in the UK even. You know what I mean? And you promote, the Chinese are going to come out. We know the Brits is coming out. You know, like you guys support each other, and I love that about you guys. You know, but it's just like just just promote Chile. That's all I'm asking. You know, that's what happened. This fight is a big fight. This fight is a pay-per-view fight that people will pay to watch because they know that anything can happen in this fight, and they know this fight is not going the distance. Listen, Jalay's sleeping now. Anthony Joshua goes to sleep. I just want to be clear about that. You know, what round it happens, I can't tell you that. You know, it depends on how the fight goes. But yeah, but I don't think Eddie Hearn or Anthony Joshua has the heart to do it. To be honest with you.
Yeah, I personally can't see him stepping up to that because, yeah, when you look at kind of like you said, all the signs, all the signals, it just doesn't seem like he is gonna go in for someone who's, you know, on his ascendancy, right? Someone who's massive, is bigger than him, and he's got all the momentum in the world behind him as well. And just to touch on what you're saying, I think what's really beautiful about what Zhilei Zhang has done is, you know, how I started this off, you know, he's won my heart. I think
Yeah.
that is what he's done with so many, especially us Brits as well, you know,
Yeah.
because I'm just thinking about it in my head. If Zhilei Zhang went up against Anthony Joshua, who would I be supporting? And I think it would be one of those things where it's like my heart would be with Zhilei
I'm
Zhang.
on the interview. Okay.
No, my
Sorry.
heart would be with Zhilei Zhang. But
Yeah.
then at the same time, you have that allegiance to you know, your British, you know, your fellow patriot. So it's one of those where he's really done himself all that promotion, but it's what he did in the ring as well. You know, he backed it all up. You know, and you're right. The first fight against Joe Joyce, they really were talking just about Joe Joyce can take any punch. And I just remember hearing Zhilei Zhang saying a few things and just thinking the mentality of this guy is not something you should just look over. And you know, when
Yeah.
you're saying we're going straight to the top, you know, you can see the vision that he's got in his own mind.
Yeah.
So you've got Tyson Fury and Usyk, who are obviously going to be a bit busy now for probably at least 6 or 7 months.
Yeah.
So Deontay Wilder is your top fight that you're looking for right now, I would assume. After that, maybe AJ. Who would be after that? Is there anyone else that you'd look at if these two don't want to take a fight with Gillet in the next 6 months?
Who else is there that like Jalay? It doesn't matter. I'm being honest with you. Like it's for me. Like at this point, when we beat Deontay Wilder, when we beat Anthony Joshua, we could wait around and fight for the title and wait for the winner of Usyk or Tyson Fury. I'm not sure what they're going to be doing after that. That's what it comes down to. You know, like maybe they might say, I want to retire now. Because I think like I think they're going for the bag right now. Then we fight the number one contender, whoever that may be at the point in time. I don't mind. I don't listen. I'm not just saying this just to say this. I'm not just saying this just to tell you. I've seen Jalay go against different styles in the ring, like sparring sessions, and we could make those adjustments no matter what style, no matter what size, no matter what. We make adjustments. You know, I mean, Jalay's superpower is making adjustments and adapting to different styles. You know, and understanding like, okay, I can't do this with this fighter. You know, so it doesn't matter who the person is going to be. I'm being honest with you, like who, like we want to say active. You know, like right before Jalay coming back down next week. You know, I mean, vacation's over next week. He's back in the gym next week. Um, he doesn't. He just want to stay active. He wants to fight. You know, and these guys, these heavyweights nowadays, they're not fighting, and they still banging on their chest like they're the best fighters in the world. You know, what's this guy name? Tyson Fury. He just fought his last fight against Derek Chisora. That was his last fight, right? Was that not?
Tyson Fury, yeah, I think that was it. Dillian White.
Oh, Dylan White, yeah, those guys like they want to fight the same guys over and over and over and over again, and it's boring. Like for me as a boxing fan, I am truly a boxing fan, right? When I say this, right, it's boring watching like Jalay's a breath of fresh air, and why not fight him? Do it for the love of the sport. Like you still want to get your 30 million, I'm sure. Like, but you want more. You're just looking at more and more and more and more. You're being greedy. You're not protecting the sport of boxing.
Yeah, I mean, like I said to you, from a fan's perspective, it's been a very dry year for heavyweight boxing, other than Zhile Zhang, which literally was a
Yeah.
breath of fresh air. And I have to
He should
correct
be fighter
myself.
of the year.
Sorry, I think he should be. No,
Yeah.
genuinely, he should be. He's really woken up the heavyweight division. He's shaken things up. He
Yeah.
deserves it. I mean, he's inspired, a whole nation in China, and then even people like myself. Like I look at him. He's what, 38 years old now, and
No,
he's is he 40 now? Okay, so he's 40,
yeah.
and his mindset, his mentality is still like he's so hungry, like he's almost like a fresh fighter. So I think that would be amazing. And just to correct myself, by the way, you were right. It was Derek Chisora, not Dillian White, which was his last fight. But again,
Yeah.
that was the third fight against Derek Chisora.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, yeah, even the build up to that in the UK, nobody. It is very similar to the Francis Ngannou build up, which is just everyone's going to
Yeah.
watch it because, well, people love boxing, right? And if the heavyweight champ is going to fight, then we're
Yeah.
forced to watch that. It's not that we love it, but we love
Yeah.
boxing, right? So I think that would be great to see Gilles in there. One of the questions I had for you was related to Usyk. Now, we saw what Daniel Dubois did with Usyk. First of all, can I just ask on your comment of the low blow, if it was
Definitely
actually
a
a
low
low
blow.
blow?
It was definitely a low blow. Is it that I could where the belly button is at, where the punch land, that was nowhere near his below the belt. And on top of it all, his cup was a little bit high when it came down to it. Um, I thought that Dubois should have won by knockout, but even after the low blow, and the referee called it, what was the referee doing? Like he was making him like he was like forcing him to take a 5 minute rest, telling him like the whole scene, the whole thing was bizarre, in my opinion. I thought at that moment that Dubois should have won the fight. Um, but at the ending leaves another bad taste in my mouth as well because he showed like he didn't want the fight. He didn't have the heart to win the fight because he didn't attack. You know what I mean? He took a knee. He could have got up, but he said, "No, I don't want to feel this pain anymore," and he quit. So there's a lot of emotions that go into that fight, but that was definitely a low blow, in my opinion. There's no doubt about it. I know when the cup is high. I know how it feels to get hit when the cup is high. I know what happened. And that was a body shot. And when it came down to it, so the politics. Oh, and the politics behind it is awful. And speaking of Jalay last fight, when he fought Joe Joyce. Nobody's talking about it, and it's upsetting to me. Um, After this, so Jalay hurt Joe Joyce in the second round, and the rest in between the second and third round was
Yeah,
1 minute 27 seconds, and nobody talks about that.
you're
This
right.
is the politics. This is the politics behind in the sport of boxing that frustrate me more than anything else. His last fight, he fought. One judge had a Joe Joyce winning the fight at the end of the fight. Two judges only had Jalay winning by 1 round, 1 point. And then we go into the UK again. Which the fans is, like I said again, I love the fans, but the politics behind everything doesn't make any sense. Like I'm sitting back, I'm waiting in between round. I have to turn to the referee, and he did a good job, but he was just standing there with his hair, and I was like, "Yo, what's going on with the time?" And then he looks at the time guy, and then the time guy just rings the bell. So when I went back on tape, I kind of thought I was going crazy at first, right? And I went back on the tape and I watched the fight. The rest period was 1 minute and 27 seconds, just to give him more time to rest. That's wrong.
So
But nobody,
if you hadn't mentioned anything, it could have possibly gone on for a bit longer then.
it would have went on longer. Everybody was sitting down, just waiting. I look, maybe they would have given 2 minutes. right? But soon when the referee looked at the timekeeper, timekeeper just hit the bell, bang. There was no seconds out like they did in the first round. For going into the first and second round, it was none of that. It was like bing and hit the bell. It's so much. It's so much going on at one time, right? These are some of the reasons why it's even afraid for fighters to go to the UK and fight, because these are the things that are going to happen, and it's a shame because it's a great atmosphere to be in during the fight. I mean, it's amazing. It's great to be there, but then we go into these. We got to fight all these little things. And nobody talking about it. Like the same thing with Anthony Joshua when he fought Usyk, and then he stopped the time of like 3-4 seconds earlier
Mm.
in the last round in the Usyk. It's wrong, So we got to do. We have to be better with these kind of things.
Yeah,
That's just
it's in those moments where you realize, oh, this is actually a business, and
yeah,
whoever owns it sets the rules, right? And that
yeah,
again is where for boxing fans, we're just a little bit disheartened because we want to see the competition, we want to see the sport, and sport competition means equal and everything
yeah,
is fair, other than your
yeah,
skill and the hard work that you put in beforehand, right? So yeah, no, completely agree with you, and we did notice it, but again, you're right, it's not mentioned, and I think that's because of the performance of Zhile Zhang, but that's not to
yeah,
say that shouldn't be looked at, because that's just not
yeah,
right.
yeah. Yeah, we was ready to go. Julie was roaring, and I was like, "Wow, what's taking this long minute?" And I turned around, look, and say, "This is a real long minute," and you could see me gesturing, like, "What's going on?" And it was like, "Oh, ding," and that was that. And
Mm,
so I don't know. It's not fair. It was like okay, but then Julie knocked him out, so no harm, no foul, I guess.
yeah. So we've got around about 5 minutes before this call will auto end itself. And
Okay.
we happy to go on for longer. But in terms of uh, Usyk, then, if you were to face Usyk, because obviously
Yeah.
you guys are number one. It's just a matter of waiting for that to come
Yeah.
through now, right? Is it as simple as training him to hit the body? Is it just as simple as
No,
that? How do
no.
you prepare for an Usyk?
Usyk, oh, there's a lot of ways you can prepare for Usyk. I've been watching him a long time. Papachenko's a good coach. So you got to understand the dynamics between both coach and fighter and how they think and how they work together and everything else. By the way, I really do think it's going to be Usyk we're fighting and not Tyson Fury. I think Usyk knocks out Tyson Fury. You heard it from me first. It's just because styles make fights when I say that. And no, you just don't go to somebody's body unless you're Derek Chisora, and you have no other way to attack when you do certain things. But there's a game plan there, you know what I mean? But we understand what Usyk does, and we're going to make the adjustments according to what we need to do. But there's a real game plan to beat Usyk. It's not just okay being a bigger person, being a faster person, or being faster footed. It's not that. There's a strategy, and I want to be I want Chile to have the opportunity to use the strategy and to use. But when you're dealing with Tyson Fury has so many different types of weapons. Is he going to use it? He has height, he has reach, he has weight. He could fight orthodox, he could fight southpaw. So we'll see what happens. But I do know that Usyk has been training for Tyson Fury for a while now. I know some of his sparring partners that he had in training camp with him over the last couple of training camps. So he's going to be ready, I believe, and I think I pick Usyk to win by knockout.
Wow. Wow. I don't think anyone in the UK or coming out of the UK would ever even say that. So it's
Yeah,
again refreshing to hear a different perspective, one that doesn't follow the same zeitgeist as what everybody else is talking about. And so do you see that Usyk fight as a tougher fight than Tyson Fury, or again is it a
no,
case of either one of them
it's
are
different. It's just a different style. Like if we're not Jule doesn't care which one he fights. We
mm,
would love to fight Tyson Fury. We would love to fight Usyk. Tyson Fury bring a bigger audience, when it comes down to those kind of things. So we would love to fight Tyson Fury. I just think styles make fights in this fight. And if you think that you're going to have the same strategy what you did to Deontay Wilder to Usyk, that's going to be a wrong strategy going into the fight. Usyk is used to being the smaller guy, you know. But he fought Dubois. He was a smaller guy, but wasn't by that much when it comes to that thing, you know. Or even height wise when it comes to different things. Um, I just think styles make fights going into this fight. So every one of these guys, all four guys that I'm mentioning, from Deontay Wilder, Anthony Joshua, Usyk, and Tyson Fury, they have four different styles. So you got to approach them different, a little bit differently. A winning mentality, obviously, but you got to be the approach going to be a little bit different when it comes down to it. So yeah, that's my prediction going into that fight. Gillet beats all of them. Um, I would love the Deontay Wilder fight. I would love the Anthony Joshua fight. And then a winner of those two guys. But like I said, we ready to go every 4 or 5 months. We are ready to go. We don't want to wait around. It's no They want to wait around and wait for the $100 million fight, and they're not sitting there doing nothing. That's what they're waiting for, and they want to cash out. That's what it comes down to. So we're going to stay busy. We want to stay focused, and Gillet is going to be heavyweight champion of the world. That's my belief.
Absolutely. I think Zhang can go all the way. And like I said, he's won my heart. So Chinese power all the way from my side. Do you think that we're going to be seeing Gillet? I know that Deontay Wilder, like I mentioned, is probably the top pick out of all of them. But do you think that we'll see Gillet over in the UK in the next few months? Or
I would hope. I really would hope so. Listen, I love the UK. I'm not just saying it. I love the fans. I love the people. I love the country. I love everything about the UK. And Gillet feels exactly the same way. You know, he enjoys being there. He feels comfortable there. Hopefully we fight in the UK and to be against somebody other than the UK fighters, so we have fans cheering for us, you know. But we're good. We're good over there.
But I'll be cheering for Gillet no matter who you guys are fighting, man. So don't worry about that. You've got one.
Thank you.
You've got one fan there, no matter who that is. Shaun, thanks so much for your time, man. I think it'd be great to kind of bring you on every time there's some new development with Gillet.
Okay.
When you are in the UK next, I would love to sit down with you and do a proper podcast about you, your life. You know, how did you end up in China, Gillet, all
Yeah.
of these things. I really want to get these things in detail. And also, I want to talk about your team. You've got such an amazing, strong team around you.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important for anybody trying to succeed, is to have a strong
Yes.
team. So, yeah, it'd be
Agree
great
with
to sit down with you when you come back to the UK next.
I would love to anytime. Thank you for
Perfect.
having me.
My
Appreciate
pleasure,
it.
Shaun. Now, thanks. We can connect it. And now that we finished this, just a quick one. What was the? This might even end, but just between us, after
Yeah.
the fight, I know that there's a few other like podcasts like Tunde Ajay, etc., who were like, haven't heard back from Shaun. So was it just you just wanted to focus on the celebration with Gillet, because it didn't seem like you did too much media afterwards?
Yeah, I'm not a media guy, really.
Okay.
Everyone always tell me to go out and talk, whatever, but I feel like a lot of times coaches talk too much. And me personally, I learn from it. I listen